You leave every morning with a goodbye that your dog watches from the window or the door, and then 8 hours begin. 8 hours in which you are entirely absent from the world your dog inhabits, and in which your dog's experience of that absence unfolds through a sequence that research has been quietly mapping for decades. Most people assume their dog sleeps through the majority of the day and wakes up just before they are due home. Some people worry their dog is sad. Some feel guilty. Almost nobody knows what the research actually shows happens, hour by hour, inside the brain and body of a dog left alone. What follows is not what most people expect. Welcome to Hidden Paw Signals. Subscribe now, because today we are doing something we have not done before on this channel. We are going inside the specific timeline of your dog's day while you are gone. What physiological changes happen at the moment of departure? What your dog does in the first hour? How their behavior shifts across the middle hours? And what is happening in their brain in the minutes before you return? Understanding this does not just satisfy curiosity, it directly informs what you can do to make those 8 hours better for the creature who depends on you completely. The moment you leave, the first measurable change in your dog's body is not behavioral, it is hormonal. Research measuring cortisol levels in dogs across separation periods has documented a reliable spike in this stress hormone in the first 30 to 60 minutes following an owner's departure. This spike is not imagined or anecdotal. It has been recorded in peer-reviewed studies examining canine welfare in home environments. What this tells you is that the goodbye moment, however casual it feels to you, registers in your dog's body as a genuine stressor, and their physiology responds accordingly before they have done anything else. In the first hour of separation, dogs that live with healthy attachment levels to their owners typically cycle through a predictable sequence. They engage in searching behavior, moving through the spaces their person most frequently occupied, spending time near the door, near the owner's bed, near favorite sitting spots. This searching has a scent-seeking function as well. Your smell is concentrated in the places where you spent the most time, and your dog is not aimlessly wandering. They are revisiting the strongest sources of your presence in the environment and using that olfactory contact as a form of connection in your absence. For most dogs with healthy attachment, the acute stress of the first hour begins to regulate as the cortisol spike normalizes and the searching behavior naturally winds down. This is where the sleep phase begins, and it is more significant than most owners realize. Dogs are adapted for polyphasic sleep, meaning they sleep in multiple shorter bouts across a 24-hour period, rather than in one long consolidated block the way humans do. Left alone during a quiet daytime period, most dogs sleep for the majority of the middle hours of a typical workday. Studies using accelerometry and direct observation have documented that dogs in low-stimulation home environments can sleep between 12 and 14 hours daily, with many of those hours occurring during owner absence. This sleeping is not simply passive. Sleep serves active biological functions for dogs, just as it does for humans. Memory consolidation, immune function, emotional regulation, and neural recovery all depend on adequate sleep. Your dog's daytime sleep is not wasted time, it is functional rest, and the quality of that rest is meaningfully connected to the emotional security they felt before you left and the activity level of the prior evening. A dog that had genuine enrichment the night before and a calm, positive departure will, in most cases, settle into restorative sleep more readily than a dog who is carrying unresolved arousal or anxiety into the day. Around the halfway point of a typical 8-hour absence, many dogs enter a phase that might be described as ambient monitoring. They are not fully alert and they are not fully asleep. They are in a light resting state in which environmental sounds and changes in light register but do not produce a strong response unless they exceed a threshold of novelty. This is an evolutionarily adaptive state for a social animal spending time alone. They are conserving energy while remaining sensitive enough to respond to significant changes in the environment, such as an unfamiliar person approaching the home, or, more relevantly, the earliest cues that their person may be returning. This brings us to one of the most striking research findings in this area. Dogs appear to be able to predict their owner's return with a degree of accuracy that cannot be explained by routine alone. In a well-documented series of studies and observations, dogs have been found to move to the door or window and display alert anticipatory behavior before their owner's car or footsteps are within normal sensory range. Some researchers believe this involves scent gradient changes in the air as the owner approaches. Others suggest dogs detect the faint acoustic signatures of familiar vehicles far earlier than we assume. Whatever the mechanism, your dog is not simply waiting and hoping. They are actively scanning for signals of your approach, and they register those signals before you would believe possible. Before we continue, an important note. This video is general educational content about typical dog behavior during owner absence. It is not veterinary advice. If your dog shows signs of genuine separation anxiety, including destructive behavior that occurs specifically during your absence, excessive vocalization captured on home cameras, elimination that happens only when alone in an otherwise house-trained dog, or visible distress at the moment of departure that does not diminish, please speak with your veterinarian or a veterinary behaviorist. True separation anxiety is a recognized clinical condition and responds well to professional treatment. What I am describing today applies to typical attachment behavior in dogs without clinical separation anxiety. What makes the reunion moment so significant neurologically is precisely what has been building during those 8 hours. The cortisol that spiked at departure has been cycling back toward baseline across the day. The dopaminergic anticipation system has been activated in the period before your return, and the oxytocin system, which mediates bonding and attachment, is primed for the social contact your dog has been anticipating. The physiological exuberance of the greeting is not merely excitement, it is the resolution of a neurochemical buildup that has been hours in the making. Your dog is not performing, they are completing a biological cycle that your departure initiated. Understanding this sequence has direct practical value. Several things owners commonly do inadvertently extend or intensify the stress of separation. Extended, emotionally charged departures, where the owner spends several minutes saying goodbye with increasing affection and apology, tend to prime the dog's arousal system and raise baseline cortisol before the separation even begins. Research in this area has fairly consistently supported what might feel counterintuitive. A brief, calm, unremarkable departure produces less separation stress than an emotionally loaded one. The same applies to the reunion. A calm greeting that escalates naturally rather than an immediate, intense response tends to help the dog regulate rather than amplify. Physical enrichment left during the owner's absence also plays a measurable role in the quality of the day. Puzzle feeders that release food over time, long-lasting chews that occupy the searching and foraging drive, window access that provides passive environmental stimulation, all of these have documented effects in reducing the duration of acute separation stress and increasing the proportion of the day spent in calm resting states rather than anxious arousal. They do not eliminate the attachment experience of the dog, but they provide behavioral outlets that the brain is seeking and that help regulate the middle hours of absence more effectively. There is also an important social dimension to think about. Dogs are a profoundly social species, and 8 hours of daily isolation represents an unnatural condition for an animal whose ancestors lived in continuous social contact. Most dogs adapt to this condition with remarkable resilience, particularly when their evening and weekend time with their owners is rich and consistent. But the resilience should not be mistaken for absence of need. The research suggesting that dogs who receive sufficient social contact, exercise, and mental stimulation show markedly better emotional and physical health outcomes than those who do not is extensive and consistent. What the research ultimately reveals about those 8 hours is something that should shift both how you feel about leaving and what you choose to do when you return. Your dog is not simply empty during the hours you are gone. Their day has a shape, an emotional arc, a physiological sequence that begins with your departure, progresses through adaptation and rest, and builds toward the moment of your return. They are waiting in a way that is active, biological, and deeply rooted in a bond that their nervous system has organized their entire day around. The reunion is not just a happy moment, it is the resolution of a loop that opened the moment you left. As always, everything discussed here is educational and does not replace the advice of a veterinary professional. If you have concerns about your dog's well-being during your absence, please consult your local veterinarian who can evaluate your specific dog and situation. If this gave you something new to think about during your next morning departure, share it with a fellow dog owner who has ever felt guilty leaving for work. Leave a comment below. What does your dog do the moment you get home? I want to know. Subscribe if you have not already, and we'll see you on the next Hidden Paw Signals. The voice and visuals in this video were created using artificial intelligence. Thank you for watching Hidden Paw Signals. The final thing worth carrying with you from today's exploration of your dog's day is this. The 8 hours of your absence are not lost time in your relationship with your dog. They are part of the full arc of a day that is organized around you at its beginning and its end. The searching, the resting, the ambient monitoring, the anticipatory alerting are all expressions of a relationship that persists continuously, not only in the hours you are physically present. Your dog carries the bond with them through every quiet hour of the day, and what they do with those hours, in every behavior and every moment of rest, reflects the depth of what you have built together.